Hello, dear friends. I'm very glad that I've got your attention to present you such a topic, the topic of the death. Death is all around, and it seems like there is not a single person without a death in one form or another. So in this lecture, I would like just to point few important things so that we can know what to do so that we're not going to become slaves of the money and slaves of the debts, but rather we can master it. The year is 1742. The place, Dublin, Ireland, still in English rules. The composer of this music that I just now played to you is George Friedrich Handel. It's a German. It's one of the most inspired composers ever. And he immigrated to England, and then he reaped great success with his oratorios. And this oratorio, which just now I played to you, is called Messiah. And this is the first part, the overture, where the life of Jesus Christ is portrayed in music. It is beautiful. You're welcome to hear the whole oratorio Messiah. You can Google it, you can find it. Beautiful, performed with orchestra. And that was my best. I tried to play it for you. So you may ask, now this guy is going to talk about death. And now, where is George Friedrich Handel? Where is Ireland? Where is Dublin? Where is 1742? 281 years ago. What is the connection with all of this? I'd like to clarify that as well. The connection is very simple. Handel, the composer of this music which I played to you, is a good Christian, and the proceeds of the oratorio that was played in Dublin, he didn't take a single cent. He divided the money in 3 parts, give it to charities, and also he bought back 142 people from the debt prison. Debt prison, what means that is when you've got debts and you can't pay them, they throw you in jail, they throw you in prison, and you stay in prison for what you've been sentenced because of your debts. Now today it's out of question, but I think it should be done because maybe a lot of people, they just misuse the system, misuse the friendship, misuse the family just to get into debt, and after they know that nothing is going to happen to them, so they carry on doing it. I believe that today we should have jail for incurred debt. What I mean, for debts taken not out of necessity, but debt taken out of just like this for abusing the system. So this lecture I named the debt a good servant or a bad master. And since we're going to talk about debt, obviously we need to mention money. And money are exactly the same. Money are a good slave. They can serve us well. They can buy churches. They can help poor. They can run families. They can help a lot of things. But they are very bad master. Once you allow the money to become your master, then you got a huge problem. The money on your head, and they tell you what to do, and not you telling them what they must do. So how we can make the difference, and many other things we're going to discuss in this lecture, and I'd like to thank you for your attention. So first thing we need to clarify, just few things we need to clarify so that we're not going to get confused. What is money? What's economy? And all of these things. We just need to clarify it in the beginning so that we're not going to get confused. Now, if you go on the streets and ask any man what is money, tell what I've got in my pocket and what I work for, or something that I can give and I can get whatever I want. It seems like it's a universal way of getting what you want. So if you've got more money, you can get more what you want. And the Bible really says that in Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 19 clearly states it. It's a truth of everyday truth that the money are answer for everything, and this is what the Bible really says it. If you read, you think that such a verse is not in the Bible. It is in the Bible. Ecclesiastes 10 verse 19. Most liberal preachers love to quote 1 Timothy 6 verse 10, where it says that the love of money is the root of all evil. And sometimes the people just change it little bit, which is not the original intent of God and of respectively of Paul who wrote it. They change it that the money are root of all evil. So they said if there is no money, there is not going to be any evil, because there is not going to be thefts, murders, and all of these stories. Not going to be greed. Everybody will be like a brother to other ones, but that's not the Bible what it says. The Bible respects the property, and the Bible respects the current situation when we've got money. This is why we've got the commandment in the 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal. And that is very important to know. Thou shalt not steal. So the verse doesn't say that the money are root of all evil. It says the love of money, and carries on. It says like this, with many which fall into, they pierce themselves with many sorrows. So the love of money will bring you sorrow, because love means you neglecting something else to give preferences for this priority of yours. Like a love of God is giving priority of God. Love of money is giving priority of money. So when you love money, you're making idol of this money, and you're serving this in disregard of the other things like a family, like God, like a right and wrong, and all other stories. So first we need to find out the Bible has no negative attitude towards the money. But the love of money is definitely a negative attribute for which we need to pray God to get rid of it if we possess it. But so, what is the definition of money? Okay, in order to have money, we need to have three things. We need to have a medium of exchange. That means something that we can give and we receive something else for it. Service, stock, whatever it is. So that it must be a medium of exchange, something that we can exchange stuff. There. Second is unit of account. So that means we need to can carry on doing maths, doing accounting with it, adding, subtracting, amplifying, dividing, and so on. So it's a unit of account, something that we can take account with. Right? And the third thing is storage of value. All right. So again, medium of exchange, unit of account, and storage of value. If we don't have these three, we don't have money. Okay, say for example, we've got something that is storage of value, like a property. We can convert it maybe, and we can turn it, but it is not easily converted to money. So it cannot be medium of exchange. See, because it's a non-liquid asset. Liquid asset means that you can immediately convert to cash or cash itself. Non-liquid asset means something that it's like a frozen, like the ice is not liquid, but the water is liquid. So, the ice is not liquid because there is a difficulties converting it to something else. So property cannot be money. Also, say for example, Zimbabwean dollars, and the inflation there is with times, 10 times, 20 times the inflation. They are medium of exchange. When you go to the shop, you can give it to them. There is a unit of account, but they miss the other one. storage of value. You can take them and you can plaster your wall or use them as a wrapping paper or whatever else usage you can do it, but you can't use it as a storage of value because you'll be foolish enough to keep this money because they'll lose value. In Germany, after the First World War, the inflation was so bad that there was a bank note of trillion German marks, and on the picture there is a woman where taking stacks of cash and putting it into an oven and saying, for me it's easier to burn money than to buy wood. You understand? It was so bad that when you go in a restaurant, they tell you, okay, welcome in our restaurant, but you pay the bill on departure, not on arrival, because the difference of hours between arrival and departure is a huge inflation. So such kind of banknotes cannot be money. So in order to have money, we need to have these three things. The Lydian king Croesus was one of the most richest men in the antiquity. The Persian king Cyrus, mentioned in the Bible, Isaiah 45, it's mentioned in the Bible. You can read it also in Daniel chapter 7, where it's represented as a bear, which is lifted from the one side and turned to the other one, and in the mouth is chowing 3 ribs. The 3 ribs represent the kingdoms of Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. So it shows, the prophecy shows that the Persians going to rule and going to conquer Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. So this Lydian king, Croesus, was defeated. His money could not buy anything, although he boasted before that his money almighty, he can do everything with his money. But he was captured by Cyrus, the Persian king Cyrus, and he was put on the stake to be burned alive. And then he was start crying while he was on the stake burning. He was start crying and says, "Oh, woe to me! Money really cannot save me from this fire." Really, Cyrus says, really cannot save you from this fire. Do you understand now what is the truth and the real meaning of life? So he pulled him out of fire in the last minute, teaching him a lesson. Why we need to have money? Why we need to have all of these stories? Why we need to have debts? Unfortunately, without money, our economy cannot run, simply because we cannot take what I produce to other people and then try to exchange. This is why the most convenient way is to convert the things in unit of exchange, medium of exchange, and the unit of account, so that we can start comparing stocks. Can you imagine, say for example, I've got in a garden bananas, I've got papayas, I've got guavas. Guavas, they go bad very quickly. Can you imagine? I harvest, say for example, 100 kgs of guava from my 2 trees, and I start peddling them from door to door. Do you want a guava? Do you want a guava? I mean, until I peddle them, first thing, some people don't like guavas. They may not buy it. And until I go around, for example, for 100 houses to sell each house at least a kilo, it will take me a lot of time. So it's not going to work. And then half of them is going to get rotten. People won't want to buy them. So it's full waste. So I don't sell the guavas, but I'm just giving you an example how it's not going to work without money. Our economy is not going to work without money. So we need second thing to define is what is economy. Economy, first thing we need to realize is that economy we have only if we have scarcity. Something that a lot of people want, but they cannot have, all of them. So you've got scarcity, and it's got something that is not enough for everybody. So the economy comes here into power, and the economy tells us three things again, like the money. First thing is economy tells us what we need to produce. Right. Second thing, the economy must tell us how to produce it. And the third thing, the economy tells us who is going to consume this. Right. This is what economy is. And the economy is based on scarcity. This is why in the new earth, or initially when God created the earth, there wasn't no scarcity, therefore there is no money, there is no economy. You understand? So because at current situation we've got scarcity, something that's not enough for everybody, we need to find a way what to produce, how to produce it, and who is going to consume it. All right. Regarding money, I just want to tell, they can be either again your master or they can be your slave. Warren Buffett comes and tells us something great. He's one of the greatest investors all around in the history of humankind. And he said the following: if you don't make money while you're sleeping, you're going to work until you die. Right? This is what he says. So you need to have a passive income that it's not requiring your active work, so that you're not going to have to work continuously, so that you can live out of your investments. I have my own uncle. My uncle was working all his life, and when he took his first pension at the age of 60, he passed away. I was a child at that stage. That happened in 1980. I was 12 years old at this stage. So he just passed. Then I know another man, it's also a friend of mine. He's the vice rector of the technical university. And when I met him, he was my age. I'm 55 now. And I asked him, okay, now what you gonna do with your life and things like this. He says, I'm not patient enough to go on a pension when I'm 60. And then I said to him, at this stage I was in my 20s, and I said, but now when you're 60-year-old man, you're wearing your last pair of shoes, you're gonna die, you're not gonna buy any shoes anymore. He's 60, you're very old. And he says, no, at the contrary, when you're 60, then the life starts when you're 60. And you know what happened? So he went on the pension when he was 60, and then 3 years after, he died. There is his grave. I was surprised to see that he died, but that's what's happened. So it's very important to realize we've got only one day Jesus gave us, and he says, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to worry about himself. So we need to live it properly, so that we're not going to have falling into poverty or living in a bad conditions. So make sure that your attitude towards the money, it's not negative, something bad or something, it is not bad. You need to find a way how you can invest money so that they can work for you. They can be your slaves, right? And I would like to give you a very simple example. I want to ask you first a question. What is the greatest natural force? Okay? Think about, press the pause button and think about. We're not talking about, we exclude God out of this query, We just want to know what's the natural force, the greatest natural force. The greatest natural force is not the wind, it's not the earthquake, it's not the gravitation, it's not the strong nuclear power force. That's not. Einstein, one of the greatest physicists ever, he says that the greatest force, natural force in the universe is the power of the compound interest. The force of the compound interest. What it means that? I'll explain you with very simple example. I'm going to give you 1 cent. And I tell you, okay, here is a 1 cent. at the beginning of the month. On the 2nd of the month, I want you to take this 1 cent and make it 2 cents. Easy, right? It's very easy. All right. From 1 cent, make 2 cents. So Monday you go to work, I'm giving you 1 cent, and I said, go do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you must bring me 2 cents. 2 cents. So you go work and you're giving me 2 cents. On the next day, I said to you, okay, now take these 2 cents and double them. So by the end of Tuesday, you must bring me 4. On Wednesday, 8. On Thursday, 16. On Friday, 32, and so on. Now, in this way of doing it, so making double the previous day amount, how much money do you think you're gonna have at the end of the month? 30 days. Think about it. How much money? You're gonna have how much money? Press the pause. Come with a number now. Now you see, you're gonna have 10 million rand. 10 million rand. Right? So how does it come that it's 10 million rand? This is the formula. It's very easy. The formula of compound interest. It's grade 5 maths, so it's not so difficult. So what it is you put the percentage as a real value, not as a sign value. You're putting it like a, say for example, 0.01 is 1%, right? 1%. When you've got 1, that means it's 100%. So 1 plus 1, because you're making 100%. And then you put this on power of the days, 30 days. So you can use your calculator. Put 2 on the power of 30 and you're going to see you've got 10 million rand. It's a lot of money, right? Now, if you put your money in something that can give you interest and you don't touch this interest, what's happening? The interest compounds. And this is what the banks love to do. You buy a house, they give you a loan, and after 20 years, you're paying 7 houses. So the other 6 houses, you need to work for it, although you've got only 1. You understand? That's the power of the compound interest. That's how it works. This is why many people prefer to rent, but then you've got another complications. Then you're paying the bond of the landlord. You don't paying your own bond. So that you've been staying there for 20 years, and instead of buying your own house, now you've got nothing after 20 years. You understand? There is no clear best situation. There is always in the economy, always you've got trade-off. So that means if you touch one, you're going to touch the other one. Everything is connected. All right? So now people say, oh, no, but we must take money from the rich giants, businesses, and give it to the poor or tax them more. And so what's happening? That's right in France, 80% tax. So that means on every 10 rand they make, 8 rand goes for taxes. And you know how many businesses run away from France now, and they start establishing their base somewhere else because not to be so heavily taxed. You understand? So you're thinking, now I'm going to help the poor now, let tax this money and give it to the poor, but what's happening is actually you hurting your own self. Winston Churchill says, taxing a business in order to get the country going on is like sitting in a bucket and trying to pull yourself out of this bucket. You can't pull yourself when you're in the same bucket. It's ruinous. So you need to have taxes, definitely, but we need to find a way so that we're not going to hurt the economy because of so much taxes, you see. So this is what's the greatest power. Greatest natural power is the power of compound interest. Of your great-great-grandfather, put every month 1 cent, I'm saying, when Jesus Christ was born, 2000 and some years ago. Only if you put 1 cent in the bank every month. It's not heavy, right? 1 cent. If we have a compound interest, we put a compound interest, today you would have the half of the world will be yours. If nobody was touching this money for these 2,000 years, you would have the half of the world. This is why the bankers, most of them are big families who rule the world. This is how it is. With the finances, giving loans to countries, to individuals, to businesses, they rule the world. Right. So it is very important to realize the power of compound interest. So I'll tell you what one of the members of this family, Baron Rothschild, in 19th century said. He says like this: if you want a lot of money, don't go and rob the bank. Go and establish one bank. Then the people will work for you because they take a loan and they have to pay it with interest. So this interest is sitting at the office while you go to work so that you can pay your loan. Right. So how to make it so that you're not going to be a slave of the system? Let me show you something. Look at this picture. What you see there, it's a collar. And this collar is for the slaves in the Roman Empire. The slaves in the Roman Empire were called res vocalis. Res, it comes from the Latin word res. From there we know the word republic. Republic. Public deed. Public deed. The work of the public. Something that all the public is doing together. Republic. Alright? Res vocalis. And vocalis is vocal. Something that has voice. So they say the slaves in the Roman Empire, they are res vocalis. The talking appliance. This is how they're calling it in the Roman Empire. The slaves could be sold, could be bought, could be crucified at will, could be tortured, could be done everything what it is. Some of the slaves were actually in the government office. They were very, very useful for the Roman Empire. Some of them bought their own freedom. So it's a lot of things happening. But the Roman economy was run on slaves. Now you say today there is no slavery. At the contrary, today we've got another slavery, but it's much more refined. Look now what it says there at this collar. At this collar there is, as you can see, a little writing, and it says Fugi teneme cum revocaveris me diem zonino accipis solidum. That's in Latin. What it means? Fugi means run. I'm on a run. Teneme, catch me. From there comes the word tenors. You heard the three tenors. Tenors means something that is holding. While bass, the voice bass is the base, the ground. The tenor is something that's holding above the ground. Right. Cum recaveris, that means for recovery. Return me to my master, zonino. Accipis solidum. Accept solidum. Solidum, it's around 5 grams of gold. All right. So it's about 3,000 rands you're going to receive from Zonino, the master of this running slave. The richest man in Rome is Marcus Licinius Crassus, who ran his riches, and all of this money was based on a slave trade and on the slaves. He was a very able general, very able politician. He's living in the century before the birth of Christ. He's a very shrewd and very clever politician and also able general. But eventually the slaves made a rebellion, and that rebellion was led by a Thracian slave gladiator called Spartacus, and Spartacus started fighting with this richest man of the Roman Empire, Crassus, and with the all empire. Although at this moment was a republic yet, but the republic was disintegrated. and start turning into empire. So Crassus led the armies against Spartacus. Spartacus defeated them in several occasions, but eventually Crassus won, destroyed completely the army of Spartacus, and crucified from the point of rebellion, Capua, to Rome, every single captured soldier of the army of Spartacus. On every 200 meters there was a crosses. 5,000 slaves and gladiators were crucified from Capua to Rome. It was terrible, right? For 100 kilometers, every time you travel on that road, you can see a cross with a dying victim, and not only that, but they kept them on the crosses for years. So when you're passing on this road to Rome, you can see the skeletons, or you can see actually the birds eating the flesh of the victims. And it was terrible, but Crassus wanted to give a object lesson of what's gonna be a rebellion against the mighty Roman Empire. So this is actually the base of the Roman economy, is the slavery. In Egypt too, they built the pyramids with slaves. All right. In Persia too, in Babylon, it's in Greece. All right. It always run in the antiquity with slaves, but today as well. All right. So how they manage to get slaves? Wars. Roman Empire ruled everything from Spain to Palestine, and from Germany to Africa. Everything was there. Every civilized country was under the rulership of Rome. And Rome exacted slaves, Rome exacted taxes, and that was point of a lot of rebellion. And eventually in the year 476, from the birth of Christ, the Roman Empire completely collapsed. So what's happening with Crassus, who ran his business on the slaves? Slaves were working for him. He was trading with slaves. As a general, he was gaining more slaves. What's happening is that he went in Parthia, and the Parthians made a war against the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire sent one of the most able generals, Crassus, to fight against the Parthians, but the Parthians defeated Crassus. He fell in battle. He died in battle. So the Parthians took him, and they took his corpse, and they melted gold, and they poured the gold into his throat, although he was dead. But just the lesson to everybody was, okay, did you have enough money now? Right. The same thing, very interesting, was done when the Spanish, in the conquering the South America, when they were looking for the gold, El Dorado, they were looking for the gold, and the native Indians there, they caught some of the Spanish soldiers, and they did exactly the same. They took gold and silver, and while they are alive, they gave him a little bit hot tea to drink. You know, they poured gold, melted gold into their throat. They died. So this is what they want to punish their greed. But anyway, we know the story that eventually the Spanish conquered South America. This is why South America is speaking Spanish and Portuguese. The economy is the same. Today's economy is the same. It's based on a slavery, and always will be like this until Jesus comes, and always has been like this. The form of the slavery is different, but the system is the same. Actually, I want to tell you, you may think that actually the rebellions caused the collapse of the Roman Empire. No, not the rebellion. The system was changed from slavery to the next system, to the feudal system, not by the rebellion, but by any force, but the slave owners, they they changed the system because they said, okay, let's give the land to the slaves and tax them 20% from what they produce. Right. Then this system also was changed when the machinery came and the technical revolution in the 17th and 18th century started. Then they changed it, okay, no, don't ask nothing from this guy. Just put him in a factory, let him work from 8 to 5 and give him something. So now, you see now, if somebody have to hire you, right, he must make more money from your work than what you are making. So say for example, you're getting the factory or the business that hires you makes 50,000 rand out of your work, but it pays you only 10. The other 40,000 goes for the profit and for the running of the factory. So actually making 50, but you're getting only 10. It's exactly the same that they steal from you 4/5. Right. 80% of your money goes to the business. And only you're receiving 20%. So they steal from you. Right? They steal from you and you're a slave. Exactly the same where the slaves were not paid. Actually, you're getting a salary, but this salary is scarcely enough to put a food on your table and to have your clothes and your accommodation. You understand? Exactly the same. Just the slave owners, they have to provide for food and lodging for the slaves. Now they don't need to do that. You run and yourself provide yourself a food and accommodation, while they give you some money to do that. Remember what I said, Baron Rothschild. If you want a lot of money, don't rob a bank, establish one bank. 2-3 times a week, almost every second day, banks are sending me emails, phoning me, oh, we want to give you a loan with very good conditions. We pre-qualified for that money. What they're saying to me is, oh, Mr. Moskov, do you like we to put a nice chain on your neck? Right, so that when we give you, say, 1,000 rand, you need to return at the end of the year 1,200 rand, so that we sit at the office and, you know, we're getting this 200 rand interest that we're going to charge you, while we have to work for them. You understand? So it's exactly the same slavery. You work for them, but they get the money. How is it that? Right. So this is the slavery. Do you want to work for us for no money? All right, nobody's going to work for no money. I had a friend of mine sends me a very interesting message. One of the natives in America, the native Indians in America, went to the bank and asked the bank to give him some money. And the bank says, we can't give you just money like this. You need to put something as a collateral, as something that's going to guarantee that you're going to return the money. What you have? Says, I've got only an ox, and I've got an old truck. And they said, well, this is no good, but after a short discussion, they said, no, we're going to give you $100. So he took the $100 and he mortgaged the truck and the ox. So he starts some little business. He bought seeds and he planted his small land. And when he harvested, he made $300. So he returned the bank $100 plus some interest. And then the bank asked him, now, what are you going to do with this money, with this $300? He says, no, but when he returned, maybe it was 180. So $180, say, what are you going to do with this $180? And he said, well, I don't know. And they said, why don't you put them in a bank? And this guy says, okay, I'll put them in the bank, but what you gonna give to me as a collateral? The bank doesn't give collateral, but bank demands collateral. This is how the banks make money. When you put your money in the bank, they give you some interest for sure, but check up the difference between the interest the bank gives when you loan from them and the interest you receive when you put your money in the bank. Times more. This is how they make money. All right. In Proverbs 22 verse 7, we read, the rich man rules over the poor and the borrower is the slave of the one that borrows him. The guy that borrows money is the slave of the guy that borrows him the money. Now, what about loans for friends or for family? My advice is no, no, and no. If you never heard the Bible, what it says, that the guy that loans the money is the slave of the borrower, the guy that borrows him, then listen to Shakespeare, what it says. Shakespeare in Hamlet, Polonius said, "Neither thou be a borrower or lender be, because the loan loses itself and a friend and destroys the husbandry." That means the family. It destroys. Now, how can you lose the friend and itself? Now, you're giving a loan to a friend. He asks you for 1,000 rands. All right. Now you're thinking about, this is a good friend of mine. He's not going to let me down. He's going to return the money. The friend that took the money from you thinks, this is a good friend of mine. He will understand if I can't return the money. So, both of you are going in different directions. And when the date comes to return the money and you don't return them, what's happening? They start a fight. You start running after your money and your friend. You start begging. You start asking, and then after it's happening, the friend's pretending that it's not knowing you. So you're losing both the money and the friend. I had a friend, he was immigrating and he asked me for money and I said to him no. And I lost the friend. He didn't speak to me after that. But I didn't lose the money. In other case, I would have lost both. At least my loss now is less. So please don't loan money. Don't loan money. All right. If you have to give a loan, all right, what you need to do? If you are forced, I don't know what, you need to do 3 things. You need to go before attorney and make a note of it. With interest, you need to charge your friend or a family. And with the collateral, that means he must put something down for this money. If it doesn't have these 3 things, don't give you things. But you may say, how can you ask a family or a friend with the interest? The Bible says also don't give nobody to interest. So let's make something very clear here. This is being preached from the pulpits for hundreds of years, from the liberal and from the preachers that are on a salary that want to please the public. I'm not on a salary. I'm not depending on the church. The church doesn't pay me salary. Even for this lecture, I get nothing. I spent all my time preparing this lecture just out of pure love to the public, just to show them that there is a trap they mustn't fall into when they start dealing with money and with debt. That's what my purpose is. I have no hidden agenda to enslave you at the end of the lecture to ask you for money. Nothing. I don't ask donation. I don't ask nothing. All right. So why we need to charge even friends and family with interest? Why we need to do that? You may say, but the Bible says, right, don't charge your brother interest. For sure. But what the Bible is talking about, let's open the Bible and read it carefully, and then we're going to open our eyes. Don't believe everything what the preacher is telling you, because the preacher is doing 2 things. He tries to be very popular, and he tries to keep his position as a preacher. If he's not popular, people won't like him and he won't preach. And if he loses his position, there is no other way that he can make money. You understand? So this is why he's very in a very narrow place. And this is why he can't talk what he wants. And if you want to evaluate a preacher or a pastor or whatever it is there, you evaluate him not of what he preaches, but what he's not preaching. Right. The Bible says also in Isaiah 30 verse 10, preach for us smooth things. Isaiah 30 verse 10. Smooth things. And this is what they do. Whatever is the demand, there is the delivery. So these same preachers will tell you that you mustn't charge interest. But the Bible tells us something else. Let's read. In Luke chapter 16 verse 5. We read there a guy that borrowed money, but now he wants his money back. Now look what he borrows. He didn't borrow money, but he borrows what? 100 measures of oil in verse 5, and 100 measures 5 and 6, and verse 7, 100 measures of wheat. So now you can see they didn't borrow him money. All of these people, they borrow something tangible, like a wheat, like a oil, and things like this. The loan is in stock. It's not in money. If the loan is in stock, this is what the Bible says: never charge interest. If you loan something, never charge interest. But if it's money, you need to charge interest. And I tell you why. First thing, the guy that gives you the money loses the opportunity, the possibility to spend the money. So that means he deprives himself of the possibility to spend this money. He gives it to you. If I loan you 1,000 rand, I can't spend this 1,000 rand because this 1,000 rand are in your pocket, not in mine. That's the first reason. You're using something. If you're using a rent-a-car, you pay. If you're using a house, you pay. If you go to the hotel, you're using that room, you pay. Even though you're going to return it back, this room, you're not going to destroy it. You're not going to take the room in your pocket. You're not going to take. You're using something, so that means you must pay. Second thing, loss of value. If I take 1,000 rand today from you, but I return it after 5 years, how much bread, how much fruits, how much petrol I can put in 5 years? Not even half of that money. You understand what I'm saying? So it's lose of value. So now what I'm saying is, you're getting 1,000 rand from me, and you go and you buy, say for example, you can buy, say 50 liters of petrol. But after 5 years, I can't buy even 20 liters of petrol. So that means you took from me 50 liters of petrol, but you're returning only 20. And what is this? This is theft. This is why the guy that gives loan must charge interest. That's a second reason. And the third reason is a risk. So now, if you loan money, but tomorrow you die, the guy that borrowed you the money, you're not going to receive them. Or something else happened, you became incapacitated, you can't, run the money. There is a risk. Or simply you don't care to return them. Right? So now, because of these three reasons, loss of opportunity for usage, to spend them. Second, loss of value, there is inflation. And third, risk. Right? So, it's very important to realize that. See, that there is these three things that we need to ask for interest when we're charging. Again, before attorney, with the collateral, and with the interest. The best is, like the Bible says, like Shakespeare says, don't give loans. But you can say, hey, what about family? My mom phoned me. She's late now, but when she was alive, she phones me and says, please borrow me 8,000 rand. And I said, very well, I don't borrow money. But there is a 16,000 rand to you. And please don't ask me. I'm not going to ask you to return that money for you. But that's fine. There is the money. Take it. While I was in Mbilo, in Durban, I was a teacher in the church, Seventh-day Adventist church. And once in a lesson, they became the subject became so that we need to help the poor people and things like this. And I said, I'm eagerly waiting to find somebody that is needy to give him some money. And I'm promising everybody here, I said in front of the church, that if you've got a need, please come to me, I'll help you, gladly. I'm not Bill Gates. I'm just financially dependent, but I'd like to help people. And you know what happened after the church? There was a queue. And there comes one man and says to me, okay, I need money. Okay, for what you need money? I need to buy this. And I said, do you know that I don't have what you want? Why don't you go and work if you've got such a high demands in life and such a luxuries? Go work. And I turned almost everybody of them. Look, somebody that's in the bed, somebody that's after accident, or somebody that needs to survive, by all means, cut your own bread even and help him. But don't give to people that can work and that can be lazy. You see. So the Bible also tells us, he who doesn't work, he mustn't also eat. So mustn't forget one of the verses in the expense of. In 2 Thessalonians, Paul clearly states it, chapter 3, verse 10. He who doesn't work, he mustn't also eat. It's fine. So money comes from work. You're exchanging your work for what you want. Now, some people get into debt because of their own inability to think about. Right. But the Bible asks us that we need to be content with what we have. In Proverbs 30, verse 7 to 9, it says, 2 things I ask from thee. Don't refuse it to me before I die. Put far from me the lie and the deceit. Don't give me neither poverty nor riches. Just give me the bread who is to me, so that I won't get enough and says, who is God, and deny you. Or so that I won't get too poor and steal, and then I use the name of the Lord in vain. Now, if you grow your own food like I do, right, it's the same as to print money. It's exactly the same. This is why all these rich corporations and all of these guys that run the financial systems of the world, they don't want you to do this, to be financially independent. They want you to work so that you can be a slave. You can say, but now I can leave this job and I can go to the other one. Well, if you change one color with another, what's the point? It is different color, but it's still a color, and you still hold it by that. All right. On top of that, the system that is based on money, paper money, or whatever, it's electronic money, coins, whatever you're calling it, credit cards, whatever, that's based on money, cannot hold for too long. There is always going to be crisis, and eventually it's going to collapse. Why? There is a very simple reasons for it, and I want to tell you this. First thing, you can print money if you got just a printing machine, but you can't print bread. There is not such a machine that prints bread, right? So what's going to happen is that the bread is always going to be less than the money, because the money are easy to make, but the bread is not so easy to make. People don't like working on a field, on a full sunshine, or in a cold, or whatever. Nobody wants to dig, all right? And this is why. Always it's easier to print money than to make stock. And this is why the money will always run after the stock, and the stock's price is gonna rise. Second, any stock continuously is deteriorating in quality. Because why? Because everybody wants to make the same debt as well and make the profit. So what's happening is that because of competition, everybody starts cutting corners. And this is why, as you can see now, you're buying appliance now, the food that you're putting in that fridge lasts longer than the fridge itself. I went and I bought 2 KIC fridges. That's a big rubbish. Never buy that KIC. So, but we were poor with my wife and I. We couldn't afford more, so we bought that fridge. And after 1 year, it collapsed. And I'm going to the Lucky's in Port Shepstone, in Manaba. And I tell them, but look now, your fridge is collapsed after 1 year. Oh, let's check it. Sorry, it's just out of guarantee. Then I bought a freezer. Right after 1 year, again, it broke, KIC. You understand? Everybody start cutting the corner. It works for a few days, but actually it breaks. So even though you've got money, you're buying a rubbish, and eventually this system is gonna collapse. Now we've got a cheap food. Now we've got chicken. Before, the chicken have to be 9 months until we slaughter it. Now for 3 months, chicken is big and ready. Why? Because they put hormones, and these hormones are going into a chicken, make it big for sure, but then it comes to your body and causes you cancer, because the hormones is creating a big increase of cells, and when this big increase starts, always gonna be a mistakes in the cell replication, then you're gonna get cancer. It's very simple. Strawberries are irradiated with gamma rays, the same gamma rays that's gonna kill you if there is an atomic bomb blast. So you see, everything is made up to cut corners and to make it cheaper so that they can be more competitive. That's the second reason. And the third one, nobody wants to dig and work with the soil and depend on this thing. It's heavy and hard. I wake up 4 o'clock every morning, and I have to work in the garden to get my produce. I've got a yard and a big garden where I grow my bananas, papayas, avocados, pineapples, watermelons, grapes, sweet potatoes, etc. So I'm independent, and that's very good, because it's not only the food is what I produce, is what I eat. Second is not stay there at the shelves for a long time before I eat it. I cut it from the garden, I cook it, or I eat it like a banana straight. So it will take time to ripen, of course. But what I'm saying is that independence is great. And nobody wants to do this garden work because it's very ungrateful. You depend on a lot of things. And if there is not enough rain, or there is too much rain, or there is some pests that can kill your produce, everything is in vain that you work. It's very hard. Then a lot of women are getting married just because to get hold of the money of the husband so that they can live without working. So nobody wants to work. That's the third reason. This is why this money system is going to collapse. I've got a friend of mine who is an extremely talented musician in Mexico. He pays 60% of his salary to his wife because of the divorce that they had. It is terrible. It's called alimony. The fourth one, a lot of people wants to work, live on a social grants. So the government must give them something, but must not receive anything from them. You understand? Something is not working here. And he who lives on the grants constantly wants more and more and more. That's what it is. On top of that, these people that live on the grants, they've got power to vote, and because they've got power to vote, they've got the power to put in power in the government only these guys that they're gonna satisfy their demands. So that means gonna give them only to eat without working. I'll tell you a real case that happened in Joburg. And there was a professor in university, and there was a beggar, and the beggar was sitting near the university. So when the professor was passing, what's happening is that the professor used to give him 100 rand. Every Friday used to give him 100 rand. And one day the professor started giving him 20 rand. One day, the next Friday, and so on, and then the beggar asked the professor, "Sorry, sir, can I ask you something?" And the professor says, "Yeah, sure." And the beggar says, "Before you used to give me 100 rand, now you're giving me 20 rand. What's wrong? What's happened?" The professor says, "Look, I've got my son was accepted in university. It's a lot of fees, so we need to pay his fees." And the beggar says, "Really? So now you plan to educate your son on my expenses? Can you imagine?" And some people are thinking just like this. So must be very careful of what you're doing on these things. Now, regarding the debts, the debt can be bad and can be good. Say, for example, when I started my property business, I had to take debt from the bank to buy my properties. But then after, eventually, I paid them off. You see, but you need to start with something to buy the property. And if you don't have a house where to live, don't rent house, buy a house. That's the best thing you can do, because the value of the house is always increasing. When I was a child, my grandpa used to tell me, rather we are 3 billion people. Now, after 50 years, now it became 8 billion, almost 3 times more. But the earth is one. The earth didn't get inflated to get more, so the property price will always get higher and higher. But that said, try not to get a debt that you cannot pay. So it's very, very important to realize that. I'd like to teach you now very simple principles of economy so that you can realize where you're standing. First thing, if somebody is receiving something for free, he didn't work for it. So that means somebody else is worked for it, but he didn't receive it. You understand? If somebody is receiving something for which he didn't work, somebody else worked for it, but he didn't receive it. Okay. Second, you can't make the poor rich by making the rich poor. It is exactly the same as if you try to make sick people to try to heal them by making the healthy people sick. Right, that's the second principle. You can't make the rich poor by making the poor rich. Even if you take the money from the rich and give it all to the poor, nothing is going to happen. So it's not going to increase the money. They're going to just disappear. So the third principle comes, you can't multiply riches by dividing them. Right? You can't multiply by division. It's two different mathematical operations. Same thing, if you can take money from one person and divide it to 10 people, you're not going to multiply it. It's actually going to get wasted. Fourth principle, the government cannot give money before taking it from somebody else before. That's 4. And the fifth principle, when the lazy people understand that they can receive without working, and when the industrious people understand that when they work, they won't receive what they work for, this country is finished. Right. So, poverty, Ronald Reagan said, is that it's the best punishment for laziness and stupidity. Now, in the Bible, how the problem of poverty and indebtedness is sorted. First thing, for the poverty, the Bible never encourages just give like this. What's happening, you can read the book of Ruth in the Bible. It's a beautiful book, and it shows a lot of things about the life of the people at that stage. So you've got two women coming very poor from immigration, they're coming back. So they come back in the country, they have nothing. Nobody gives them just like this. But there is a rule which got established that you can go on the fields of the people and you can glean what is left, because God commanded the people, when you harvest, not to go second time and glean everything, but leave some for the poor. So the poor is not only receiving, you have to work for it. You see, the divine plan, it's very clever. So things like this. So they have to go and work for it. Second thing, the land is not sold for forever. On every 50th year, it came back on the year of Jubilee, it came back to the original owner. So in this way, God teaches people that they are his tenants. They are not the owners of the land. The owner of the land is God himself. And the land comes back to the original owners. Nobody have the land for forever. In this way, the people don't get impoverished. See, a lot of people, watching one very interesting church. This church is called Hollywood, and Hollywood is teaching them with their preachers like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and Kim Basinger and other actors. They're teaching them certain kind of behavior which is untenable. That means you cannot carry on like this. Teaching them to drive a nice expensive cars, to go on a nice expensive holidays, luxury life, which is not sustainable, especially for people that doesn't have the money to buy it. So what the poor people do. In order to keep their dignity, they go and borrow money to buy expensive car or to go on an expensive holiday. And then after, they don't have the money to survive. So now they get impoverished into debt, you see. So, like the Bible says in Isaiah 22 verse 13, let's eat and drink because tomorrow we die, even if we have to incur debt. I know people that spend 200, 300,000 rand on a wedding. When I get married 12 years ago, 13 years we're gonna make this year. What's happening is I decided to have very humble celebration. So what's happening, we married in the church, and in the back of the church we made a very, very humble celebration with just juice and something with few friends, 20 friends. And then after I saved money and we went with my wife to Mauritius. At this stage it cost like a 25,000 rand to go to Mauritius. So we spent, instead of money to have a wedding, we spent it on going on a holiday. So I know people that spend 200, 300,000 on a wedding, and that's for one day only. That's totally untenable. It's not right. From the another point of view, but you see, it's if you have to take a debt, don't use it for luxuries. If you have to take it to start a business and to something that the speed of the returning income is going to be higher than the speed of the increasing interest that you're going to pay on that loan. You see, that's okay, but you must be very sure when you do that, so you're not going to collapse. There is a risk always. Also, there is many things. So now, when a country turns its attention more to the poor, what's happening? Many people became poor because they are lazy when they see that somebody can give them, and this stimulates laziness. And 90% of the people that are poor are just simply lazy. They don't want to study, they don't want to learn, they don't want to work, they don't want to start for nothing. I've got here in Port Shepstone where I am, I've got a big house, and part of the house is another house. So I said to people, look, now I'll give you a house, I'll pay you electricity and water. All what I want is please come work for me 3 hours a day. You're going to have free house and free lights and water, which accounts to around 6,000, 4,000 the house and 2,000 lights and water. 6,000 rand I give them for 2 hours work every day. And then you can go to your work and do it. But the people are too lazy. I tried to hire domestic helpers. One of them was stealing from me. The other one was dirty. The third one was coming late. The fourth one was disrespectful. The fifth one didn't follow my instructions, tell her what to do. I said, no, I'm not going to then employ people. I'm going to clean the house myself. It's much cleaner, much faster, and I've got peace, and I don't lose money, you understand? So it is very, very important to realize that as well. So when you're helping people that are in financial trouble, some people say, but that principle of the debt is universal and applies also internationally and globally. And they give a very stupid example. They said America is the most indebted country, and America is going to go down because it's indebted. This is very stupid, and I'll explain you why it's a stupid statement. This is normally it says of the people that never touched even a book of economy, and they don't know why. But they saying it like a parrot because somebody else is, or some preacher that also doesn't know economy, he says it as well. First thing, why America is not going to collapse. The debt of America is in its own currency. It's in dollars. That's very important. The foreign debt of America is in its own currency. That's a unique country in the whole universe. There is no other country that its foreign debt, it's in its own currency. Say, for example, Argentina. Argentina is not very rich country, and you've got crisis from time to time. So what's happening is when the peso, Argentinian currency, is devaluated, they raise the interest in order to attract investors. The investors come, but because the economy is not working, what's happening? The investors give them dollars, so they have to return dollars. but because the peso is sinking even lower and lower and lower, they have to return more money to the investors. So what's happening is getting worse and worse and worse. You understand the problem of this country. But America debt is in dollars. Second reason, the other countries are pushing to invest in America. America is not asking them. They demand to put their money in America because it's the most stable economy, it's the most powerful army. So they want a sure investment, so they invested in America. They got second reason. America is not begging, oh, please give us loan, give us loan. People coming there, they give them money. 3, when you get a big debt, who has a problem? You or the one that borrows you the money? Say, for example, I borrow from you 1 million rand. Who is going to have more problems? You that borrow me the money, or I that took the money? You, because you have to return it. You understand? So now the people all around the earth, all the countries of the earth, they must make sure that the America is going to return the money that they invested there. So now they must make sure that they keep America healthy and strong. And America, because of that, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. 4th reason why America is not going to collapse is some economies, large economies like China, say for example, they almost 2 billion people there. So in order to feed them, they must make the production of Chinese people, they must make it competitive. So how do you do this? You devaluate your own currency. How do you devalue your own currency? You start buying dollars. So when you put something on a market, a lot of, say for example, you've got pears, and instead of putting 100 kilos of pears, you put 10,000 kilos of pears. Now the people can't eat so much pears, so the price goes down. Same thing with the currency of China, renminbi or the yuan. You know, they start buying dollars, devaluating the currency. Because of this devaluation, what is happening, their stocks became cheaper, so people come and buy it from China. And in this way, but in the result of that, the dollars keeps getting stronger and stronger. And the 5th reason, economically, USA is the most powerful country. And the best life is there. The cheapest stocks are there and the greatest salaries. So it's very important to realize when we listen to, and we have to summarize all of this lecture, it's important to first realize, don't get into debt, return the debt when you've got as soon as possible, so that you're not going to work as a slave with a collar on a neck. You're not going to borrow money even to a family. Give money if you have to be on a family, but don't borrow, because you're going to lose a friend and the loan. Bible also advises. If you have to borrow, if you're forced, put the conditions before attorney as a legal document with interest and with a collateral. Put down gold or a house or your car or things like this. Otherwise, don't borrow. Then the people that want to start their own business sometimes need to take a debt. Nothing wrong to take a loan, but make sure that you work hard so that you can return it. I won't encourage student loans because that's another way of slavery. So that's the thing. And internationally and globally, the debt, one of the greatest debtor is America, $31 trillion. 31 trillion. But the biggest debtor is the most stronger economy. So don't get misled by things like this. Remember, in the Old Testament, in the whole Bible, God says, 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 10, he who doesn't work, he mustn't eat. All right. And the love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 6 verse 10. Don't give a loan, work hard. Don't give to the lazy people, although they are poor, they won't get richer if you give them. Okay. Work for yourself. Try to get out of the cities and to grow your own production, because when you grow your own production, you're actually printing money. You're independent. People don't want that. The financial institutions don't want that. Right? And I'll finish with one thought of the same Baron Rothschild. It says like this: you can put every fool on the throne of England. The real power in England, he said it again, this in 19th century. At 19th century, England ruled almost all the earth, British Empire. So he says you can put any fool on the throne of the British Empire. The real power in England has the one who prints the money, and that's me, he says. Understand? So don't get dependent on money. Master them. You be their master, but don't let they to be your master. Don't get into debt and rule the money and rule the debt. Now all of these principles, and I hope that this lecture helped you a little bit. Thank you for your attention, and may God bless you.